And I made the statement before that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, these are the founders of ISIS. These are the founders of ISIS because of bad judgment. These are the founders. And some of them, well, that's not very nice. That's nice. If they said it about me, it'll be fine. If I say something about them, it's terrible.
Donald Trump last night doubling down once more on his comments concerning President Obama and Hillary Clinton, and also once again pointing out the media bias against him. Trump went further today on Twitter, tweeting out, "Ratings challenged CNN report so seriously that I call President Obama and Hillary Clinton the founder of ISIS and MVP. They don't get sarcasm." Welcome back to Newsmax Prime. Remember, you can get in on the conversation by giving us a call at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. And for more now, we're pleased to be joined by political commentator Allyn Root. Wayne is also the author of the great new book, Angry White Male: How the Donald Trump Phenomenon is Changing America and What We Can All Do to Save the Middle Class. Wayne, to save the Trump campaign, is there anything to cut out the media double standard?
Well, first of all, I don't think the Trump campaign needs to be saved, JD. I think we're fine. I think this is going to be, I got to tell you, the polls show dead even, statistical dead heat in Rasmussen and Bloomberg in the LA Times USC poll today. Dead even. He's within the margin of error in every one of them. And he hasn't spent one dime yet. Now, that's a serious issue I want to discuss. Why hasn't he spent one dime? I live in the battleground state of Nevada, and every other ad is Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. There isn't a single Trump ad, but he's dead even. So I think Democrats should be in a panic right now. They've hit him with everything but the kitchen sink. They've hit him with like $2 billion of free negative media in the last 2 weeks. It's the most incredible barrage I've ever seen. And he won't go down. Donald Trump is Freddy Krueger. He's Nightmare on Elm Street.
He's a nice Freddy Krueger, okay? We get in these horror films analogies, pal. We got to watch it because who knows who will pick that up. Listen, I sat down with Mr. Trump the other night in that exclusive interview. I asked him about the media double standard, especially after the Orlando terrorist's father showed up at a Clinton rally. Here's what he had to say.
If he was at our rally, it would be front page news all over the world. It would be a disaster. And they knew he was there because those seats behind, they're very prized seats, and only people with a certain level of contact get those seats. Although in Hillary's case, she doesn't draw too well, so I mean, maybe they're not so prized.
Your reaction to what Mr. Trump had to say?
Well, first of all, I still love Donald. I think those are the funniest lines. I mean, in the history of America, no presidential candidate ever talks like that. Nobody would have the guts, the chutzpah, the cojones to actually say something like that those seats only go to important people, the big donors, and that in Hillary's case, nobody shows up, so maybe he just got it because there's no one there and you got to put someone behind her and fill the empty seats. That's hilarious. I think that's what Donald brings to the presidential race. Yeah, he speaks off the cuff. He's Bullworth, the Warren Beatty movie from 1998. I was the first guy to coin that. Trump is Bullworth, and he is. He says whatever's on his mind. I think that's great. And, in my new book, Angry White Male, I've got an entire chapter, JD, dedicated to the fact that Barack Obama used the IRS to go after conservative groups, Christian groups, pro-Israel groups, pro-Constitution groups, even ministers themselves. And the media didn't care. The actions were intended to destroy people's lives based on their religion, being Christian or pro-Israel Jewish. And yet, in this case, Donald Trump has a little spat with a Muslim man who attacked him first. And the media says, oh my God, it's the biggest news in America. He had a fight with a man that attacked him first. It was a verbal fight. Words can't hurt you. IRS can destroy your life. Obama's the one who the media should have gone nuts about because he was going after religion with the power of government. That's something you'd expect out of Gestapo, not something you'd expect out of the United States government.
Wayne, you touched on this earlier, but it bears some amplification, specifically that LA Times poll, well within the margin of error. Hillary Clinton up by only 1 point in that national rating, 44.2% to 43.1%. Is this poll an outlier, or is it really that close? Your take on Mr. Trump in the polls?
I don't think it's an outlier at all. As a matter of fact, remember, the margin of error on all these polls usually about 4. I didn't notice what the margin of error was on the LA Times USC, but assuming it's 4, that could mean Trump is either actually behind by 5 or he's up by 3 after the worst 2 weeks in the history of politics. And we all know, here's a fact, in every single state in the GOP primary, Trump outperformed the polls by about 5 points, because there's a certain number of people that will never tell a pollster they support Donald Trump. I think that number might have gone to 7 to 10 points, because even in the primaries, Trump wasn't painted as bad as he is now after the Muslim father incident and all the other things that have happened in the last 2 weeks. Oh, the incident where supposedly, theoretically, he encouraged people to threaten Hillary's life, which never happened, by the way. But my point is, maybe 10% of the people will no longer tell a pollster, I'm for Donald. So guess what, JD? I think Donald may be up by 7 to 10 points. That's my opinion. Everyone I know supports Donald. Everyone I know loves Donald. They're not going anywhere. The intensity level is through the roof. Look at the crowds at Trump events, and then look who shows up for Hillary. Nobody. Now, I didn't show up at the Hillary event this week in Las Vegas. I'm not a Hillary fan, as you might have guessed. But a friend of mine went to the event just to see how many people showed up. Do you want to guess how many were at Hillary's event in Las Vegas?
I'm going to let you tell us. What was it?
She's supposedly the next president of the United States, right? 300 people. Trump's events have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. 300 people showed up for Hillary in Las Vegas. And I've been the master of ceremonies and opening speaker 4 times since January at Donald Trump events in Vegas. 5,000, 7,000, 12,000, biggest event in the history of Vegas, and then another 5,000. Hillary's in big trouble. If I'm her people, I'm in panic right now.
And yet there's a neighboring state where Donald Trump is having some trouble. He talked about it yesterday. It is the beehive state of Utah. Here's the way Donald put it.
You've got to get your people out to vote. And especially in those states where we're represented. We're having a tremendous problem in Utah. Now, Utah is a different place. And I don't know if is anybody here from Utah? I mean, I didn't think so. We're having a problem.
Now, the co-director for Brigham Young University's Center for the Study of Elections and Democracy told CNN that Trump has been unable to break 40% in recent polls in that state. Gary Johnson has been surging there, and Evan McMullin, the new establishment Republican, apparently has made a small dent. Could this be trouble for Mr. Trump?
I don't know. If it is trouble, then I'm going to ask Donald to have me barnstorm the state, and I'll speak for him all over the state of Utah. I've had a vacation home in Park City for the last 15 years in Utah. I love the people of Utah, and if they knew what Gary Johnson and the Libertarian Party stood for, they wouldn't be voting for Gary Johnson. And I was the Libertarian vice presidential nominee in 2008, so I'm going to volunteer to stump that state and barnstorm that state, and I'll teach them a thing or two. The Libertarian Party is filled with some really nice people, but very naive people who believe in some really bad things, like open borders, like flooding the nation with foreigners, like legalizing all drugs, including heroin, like legalizing pot the #1 issue in America, like standing against Israel. And I know the people of Utah, Mormons, love Israel like I do. And I'll tell you what, the Libertarian Party is very anti-Israel, wants to cut off all funding for Israel. And one of the things that drove me away from the party is how many people there believe that Israel's an occupying force and they're on the side of the Palestinians. I got to tell you something. If they knew what they believed in, there wouldn't be anyone in Utah voting for Gary Johnson. So I will personally take care of that.
All right, well, that's good to know because, I've got an idea for your next book, Wayne. Since you were the 2008 Libertarian nominee for vice president, you can write a book, Confessions of a Former Libertarian, and you kind of clued us in right here. Look, we concentrate on polling and on the popular vote, but the fact is, it's the Electoral College that decides the election. You need 270 votes to win, but the electoral maps are out there with the projection saying that Trump could win every remaining toss-up state and still lose the election. Do you put any credence in this so-called electoral map? About 30 seconds.
I'll tell you what I put credence in. In the last few days, the economic stats have been awful. Productivity, the worst in modern history. Macy's closing 100 stores. Retail sales at all stores in America, disaster. Wages way down, big drop. GDP horrible. We all know about the debt. We know about student loan debt. And bad news about Obamacare. Terrible news. Obamacare, a damaging, terrible drain on the American economy. killing the middle class. That's why I wrote the book, Angry White Male. I'm telling you, we will rise up on Election Day. No one's voting for a third term of Obama. The majority of America won't stand for it.
Wayne Allyn Root, his soon-to-be-released book, Angry White Male. He's not angry, he's just passionate. You see the book, and Wayne, we appreciate your time. Now,
Thanks, JD. God bless.
great to have you. Now, since it's Friday, a very special Prime playback. When we come back, if you missed it last night, Donald Trump in his own words. Our special one-on-one exclusive interview with Mr. Trump is next. So stay right here with us on Newsmax Prime.